Hi, friends. Jenny Wise here from Wise Mind Soul Warrior. And I just want to take a moment to jump on here and share. I actually was meaning to get on here this weekend and it didn't happen. So I want to take a moment to just share. So, why we are holding this inner critic or heal your inner critic challenge that's coming up in May. This is actually directly connected to my own personal story. My own personal story that many of you have heard, that in 2013, I ran into burnout and breakdown and breakthrough. And 2013 was the year that I found yoga. It was the year that I stepped into a counselor's office and she said, "Have you ever considered trying yoga?" And I had never walked into a yoga studio. And at the time, I was dealing with anxiety, I was dealing with depression, I was dealing with insomnia for the first time in my life. It's the first time in my life that I actually ever took sleeping pills because I could not sleep. So it was at that point in my life where professionally, personally, I was running into a wall. Again, I was emotionally exhausted, I was physically exhausted, I was spiritually broken. And in my professional corporate career, I was burned out. I was done. Okay. And so this was my mind and body and my soul's way of saying, wake up. It was the first of many of the awakenings that I've had. I'm very grateful for. And so I am a recovering perfectionist. I am a recovering workaholic. I am a recovering what we call busyaholic. I am a recovering stressaholic, and I am a recovering judgmentaholic with an extremely loud inner critic voice. Okay. So I share this because all of the students that we have worked with and all the seminars that we've done, when I ask on a scale of 1 to 10 of how loud is your inner critic, a majority of students will answer in the 8 to over into 15, well over the 0 to 10. Okay. In fact, I would say more so in the 10 to 15 that someone says it's actually beyond a 10 of how loud my inner critic voice is and how bad my self talk is, right? The way I allow myself to speak to myself. And I'm raising my hand here because my inner critic was extremely irate. Okay. I mean, I would beat myself up all day long. Okay. I would beat myself up about not exercising. And then I would beat myself up about what I ate. And then I would beat myself up about beating myself up. It was this cycle, this thought cycle that would just keep going and going and going. And so that is what introduced me to cognitive behavioral change and learning how to change my thoughts and emotions and learning how to control my thoughts and emotions. And 2013 was my wake up call, right? That was my call where I actually had to take time off of work, which for me as a workaholic was huge, right? So anyone who knew me or knows me even now, but even knew me during the corporate days, you would know that I was a workaholic and that was a really big deal if I was taking time off of work. So this is somebody who I've worked since I was 11 years old. So the point being that all these different, what we call samskara patterns, right? Samskara patterns is what we call in yoga psychology, where you have a pattern or a habit or a thought habit that just plays over and over again in your subconscious mind. And so most of the time when you're a perfectionist, when you're a workaholic, when you're a stressaholic, when you're a judgmentaholic, when you're addicted to eating, alcohol, whatever the addiction is, it is some sort of way to distract you from not feeling the feelings, right? So it's actually a coping mechanism and it can work for a while, but it's not a long-term strategy. Okay. So many people do these short-term strategies around workaholic, for example. Okay. Because they don't want to feel the feelings. So what's important about all this is that we're going to be teaching you about identifying the root cause of the perfectionism, of the workaholic, of these different ways that we speak to ourselves. Okay. We're going to work with you on family of origin and looking at what is coming from your trauma story, what is coming from unhealed core wounds that is manifesting itself in these behavior patterns, in what we call samskara patterns. Okay. So we also are going to be teaching you tools around healing, detoxing, and transformation, and what we call a judgment detox. So I want you to think about moving from self doubt and self beat to self love to mindful self compassion, and how you can transform these ways that you treat yourself, right? So you can start treating yourself with mindful self compassion and start treating yourself more gently, most importantly. So we're also going to take you through guided meditations. We're going to take you through breath work, through journaling, through working sessions and exercises and group coaching. So this is well beyond me just sitting and teaching on the different inner critics. This is actually meant to be working sessions where I'm going to be on live with you. Now, I know some of you can't be on from 12 to 1, and you may not be able to work around your work schedule to do that. And if that's the case, then you certainly can still register and you can watch the replay. We do recommend that you try to join us live if you can, only because it's meant to be a container of safety and of support where all the women are supporting each other. We're all sharing. Everything we talk about is confidential. So again, you're going to get the best results if you're there in person. Okay. So again, this is something near and dear and tied to my own personal story around healing your inner critic and all the things that I've studied now going on 10 years around how you can change your inner critic, how you can change your thought patterns, and how you can actually start to be able to train through meditation, through cognitive behavioral change, through emotional regulation skills, all these different combinations, mindfulness, yoga, psychology, breath work, all the things, where you can actually start to train your inner critic, where you can redirect your thoughts. And so I'm here raising my hand as a testimony because, for example, my perfectionist, right? I have been able to retrain my perfectionist so that 95% of the time, when a perfectionist type thought comes in, I'm able to redirect that thought. And it has made such a difference in my life. So, for example, it is normal now for me to speak to myself kindly, for me to speak to myself gently, for me to give myself mindful self compassion instead of my go to being to beat myself up, right? To tell myself that I'm not good enough, right? Or to seek outside validation, right? For my own self-worth, which again is a huge wake-up call, right? So we're actually going to be taking you around shadow work and soul work every single day, which includes getting at the root cause and the family of origin to transform, right? These different patterns for you and to identify which of these or multiple of these are you struggling with? Because many people, including myself, have all 4 of these and many have 2 to 3. So again, the second one is the imposter syndrome. And this is the shadow of who do you think you are, right? This is the shadow of I'm not good enough in teaching. I'm not good enough in my career. I'm always trying to prove myself, additional certifications, different degrees. The next one is a taskmaster inner critic. So this is the one that says, I don't do enough. So what's the shadow work behind identifying why are you driving yourself as much of being a workaholic or being an overachiever where you're feeling like you have to you're getting your self-worth from outside yourself, right? You're getting your self-worth from your productivity instead of who you are at your core. And then the final one is the conformist, right? So this is the part of us, especially as women, where we judge ourselves and we judge other women, and we also compare ourselves to other women. So what we want to do is the shadow work and the soul work around that of identifying our voice, identifying our gifts, identifying our story, and that our stories are important and that our stories and our voice is important in our gifts for whatever we're meant to be doing on the planet right now, whatever our purpose is. right? So we tell ourselves that my story isn't needed, my voice isn't needed. So again, those are kind of the four. So again, perfectionist, I'm not enough, and the illusion of perfectionism, because perfectionism is an illusion, and so is control. So part of being a perfectionist is creating this illusion of control, which again is not a real thing. Brene Brown talks about it all the time, that um, perfectionism is an illusion. Again, the second one is the imposter syndrome. And the third one is a taskmaster. So again, the imposter syndrome is, who do you think you are? You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. The taskmaster is, I don't do enough. And then the last is the conformist. And this is the one that we judge ourselves with others. And you tell yourself, I'm not needed. So again, on the 5th day, we'll be going over the roadmap. So I just want to take a moment. I know it might be dinner time for a lot of you, but I wanted to take just a few minutes here to take a moment to share that this is part of my story. And this is actually something that's really near and dear to me, also because it is related to Mental Health Month, mental health awareness. And so mental health awareness is directly correlated to the inner critic, right? And how we speak to ourselves. Do we have mindful self-compassion? What toxic thoughts are we allowing to come in? And the most important thing is that you are empowered. You have a choice of the thoughts that you allow to come in, and you have a choice of how you control your emotions. And so again, I wanted to take a moment to share this because this has taken me years to figure this out. So if I can help one person get there in a shorter amount of time, that they have less pain and suffering of dealing with these inner critics, then I have done my purpose here on the planet. Okay. All right. So one last piece, from May the 9th to May the 13th, it'll be from a Monday to a Friday, 12 noon Eastern time. Again, you can go ahead and register, and that will either have the replays sent to you, or it will get you your spot to be able to join us live. If you have any questions, feel free to message us. But again, I am so honored and grateful and excited to take you through this challenge, because again, this is near and dear to my heart, and I'm going to teach you about how I have trained and retrained and healed and transformed my inner critic, and how I've gone through a judgment detox. And I want you to be able to do the same. I want you to be able to unconditionally love yourself and get rid of the self-doubt, have true self-confidence in who you are at your core, and that you no longer need outside validation for your self-confidence, because you believe in yourself in your core, and you've done all the healing work to release the samskaras, to heal the core wounds, to get to the root cause of why you have these patterns so that you can heal them. Okay. Step 1 is self-awareness. All right. So sending you all so much love, light, and blessing. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your night. Namaste.